So I know what you're thinking. Maybe it's time we return back to Sector 2. And hey, I love Sector 2. I agree with you. And you might even bring up, hey, I think it's time we return to D2 in specific. Let's deal with the radar associate. And you know what? No contest there. I agree with you as well, 100%. So, isn't this just dandy? Well, it is. I mean, you're controlling air traffic in the Caribbean, one of the most beautiful places in all the world, doing the funnest job there is known to man. So it is dandy, but sometimes dandy is not quite dandy. It's a beehive of activity that just causes a whole bunch of headaches. But today's presentation aims to alleviate you of those headaches. It's like a ibuprofen for the sector. We're going to take down the fear factor. We're going to go through a scenario together. We're going to leave it open-ended sandbox style where we'll pause and you'll be able to figure this out. And you'll be able to negotiate your way with a little bit of guidance through a scenario that happens a lot. A whole bunch of non-radar activity, non-radar transitioning to the radar environment, but you are ensuring that positive separation as the radar associate. So I'm really excited. This is a little simple little exercise in one of the most tedious and fun spots in the Caribbean. So perfectly said, let's get at it. Ready, set, jets, go. I'll see you at the bulleted list and we'll get started. Like taking dandy from a baby, right? So this is a teammate challenge, this time in Sector 2. One of our last videos was how we can be a better teammate amongst each other in the Sector 4 environment. We went over some concepts for the radar and some concepts for the D side. Well, today we just switched sectors. This is more of a D side thing. This is, hey, how can you as D2 help out the R side? Because what it looks like in Sector 2, what is hard and challenging in Sector 2 for the D side may not be as challenging for the radar. And what does that really mean? Well, just to break it down real quickly, when you are doing manual coordination, all that manual coordination that is required of us in Sector 2, when you do that, you are basically playing the role of what automation does for us in all the other sectors, right? What the computer does for us, what technology has risen and accepted the challenges in the different sectors, but that doesn't exist in Sector 2. You are the computer, you are the automation, you are the safeguard, and you are that person. So what you present, the interface that you present to the sector, like a departure from Juliana example, you give a full route clearance, and that's it. The aircraft takes off and the aircraft gets radar identified. The effort that you put into that as a D side is insurmountable compared to the amount of effort that it takes for the radar just to radar identify the aircraft and climb them. It's just a disparity of effort there. So techniques and methods to help you help the team run smoothly, basically. So hit the ground running and start finding work. That's always the key, right? When you sit down, you're either training upstairs in a live session or you're downstairs in the lab in a scenario, the best thing you could do is try to find work, right? We're not really worried about priorities right now. We are worried about finding work and identifying what needs to be done. Priorities always come later. That's a skill that gets honed in by the training team and the instructors. So that will come in and of itself. Minor guidance, take control and work it out, right? I'll help you out a little bit, but for the most part, we'll leave it open-ended for you to make the decisions, and we'll talk about why I made the decisions that I did whenever we compare our answers, if you will. So ready, set, jets, go. Let's go to Sector 2. Sector 2, only St. Croix Bay. I will see you there, okay? Here we are sitting oh so leisurely in Sector 2 is the D2 controller. The active St. Croix Bay is to the left of us, and we have the mixture of the St. Martin Suspense Bay and the D2 Suspense Bay to the right of us. Real automation furnace strips today, which is awesome. The call signs, not so real, they're test call signs, but all of the small little details, little items in the strips really playing up the realism factor in today's presentation. So it's a sight to behold, a beautiful sight at that. So we hear the phone line ring and we look at the ETVS and see it's St. Martin calling us. So we answer San Juan Center and Juliana, request clearance, test 111 ETT 0645. We take the strip from the suspense bay and we put it at the bottom of the St. Croix live active traffic bay, and we put down the ETD there and we get ready to give that clearance. Now, couple things to consider before we give the clearance. Remember, we are an en route facility talking to an approach control facility about heavy jet operations. So this aircraft, Test 111, will have heavy suffixed after it when we're talking to Julianne about this aircraft. Anytime we talk to Julianne about heavy jet operations, we should be saying heavy with the call sign. So now would be a good opportunity for you to pause the video and practice your clearance. Knowing everything that we have learned so far in past videos, how can you deliver a quick and concise yet thorough clearance to Princess Juliana on Test 111 Heavy? So pause now if you'd like. So if you pause, welcome back. I'm sure you did a fantastic job. Let's just talk about this particular flight plan. We see Test 111 Heavy has some PDR, some preferential departure routing associated with the route string. We see that the pilot or the company or dispatch did not file the Papa Julia Mike, the St. Martin VOR. But upon looking further and under a microscope, we see even though there is that omission of not filing Papa Julia Mike, the route of flight is the same, especially after MyLock. So we know a little bit more than the computer in this case that this aircraft can be cleared as filed, right? Even with PDR being present there. So if it were me, for the sake of brevity, Test 111 Heavy cleared to Haetal Curacao Airport via as filed. Now, here's the main question. What kind of altitude restriction are we looking at here? We see we have one aircraft in the bay. It's Test 333, right? Or Test 333, and let's just pretend that they are radar. They're somewhere west of our position, right? Somewhere west in the sector there, maybe over the island of Puerto Rico or something like that. So the situation we have brewing here is something you will see a lot. Test 111 Heavy is a non-radar aircraft, a non-radar climbing departure aircraft off of Princess Juliana. Test 333 is an aircraft that is under radar surveillance and will continue to be under radar surveillance as they make their descent into St. Kitts. We have a mixed environment here. No surprise there. We know this. That's inherent to the nature of Sector 2. So how do we ensure positive separation, right, with Test 333 and Test 111 Heavy's climb? If only there was a way to restrict the aircraft to be at some kind of altitude, to protect the protected airspace of Test 333's descent into St. Kitts, because we know that Test 333's descent is going to take place way before Dandy. So we need to use vertical separation. Vertical separation is the easiest and the most beautiful form of non-radar separation. It's easy, it's 1,000 feet. So let's make Test 111 Heavy, let's pinpoint their position to be somewhere at some point, along the space-time continuum, at some point in space and time, to be at an altitude and to be level. So we'll do that. We will say cross 35 miles southwest of the Princess Juliana VOR at maintain flight level 150. What does that do? That ensures that Test 111 Heavy will be level at 15 prior to reaching Dandy. So that means we have an altitude that is real, that can be protected for, that is assigned, and we will protect for that. That means Test 333 can now be descended either below, 14 or below, or 16 or above, because 15 is protected airspace for this non-radar aircraft, right? Until we hear the words radar contact, that aircraft's separation, the positive separation, is being ensured by us, the D side. So it's a noble task, and this is how you complete it. You will see this situation occur a lot with your Mike 576 southwest bound departures off of Princess Juliana. So after that clearance is read and perfectly like that, great job. What is the safest altitude to descend at Test 333 to for planning purposes? So just in case if you are busy as D2, which by all accounts you will be a lot busier than just this scenario, right? A little snippet of a day's traffic activity, and the R side is wondering, hey, what's the safest I can descend Test 333 to, because I know the Dandy is a hot spot of activity, and I see a whole bunch of strips there that say Dandy, Gabar. I don't have time to really look into what's the safest I can descend Test 333 into along green 633. So what will you do? You'll write a down arrow and and write OK 160 reference test 111. So they'll look at that and say, okay, I have a guy, an aircraft, test 111 climbing to 15, but they're going to be level at 15, 35 miles southwest of the Princess Juliana of York. So prior to Dandy, I see that they'll be at 15. I can safely descend test 333 to 16 and all is well without even having to have some kind of dialogue, some kind of discussion with D2. You see how this is a form of nonverbal coordination that really helps the sector run smoothly. So great job with that. Perfectly executed. So with that being said, we see we have more proposals, so let's keep adding complexity to this scenario. Let's really load up Dandy and navigate our way through this common occurrence, because it will occur, I promise you. Some facet of what we are going through today will occur either individually or it might occur as a group, and you will be able to separate it just as you would one aircraft. You'll be able to separate 4 aircraft over the GABAR Dandy Green 633 Yankee 280 hotbed, okay? So with that being said, ring, 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 St. Kitts is calling. I'll see you at the next slide. Fantastic job with that first clearance. Bravo. Let's keep this going. So the line is now hot as we hit the TK-PK button on the ETVS. We respond with SAM 1 center. Bradshaw Gabar Smith test 222. We look into the suspense bay. We find test 222 amongst a myriad of strips, and we place it over in the active bay offset. We respond with test 222 time level Gabar at 0637 climbing flight level 220, and here is where we will pause based upon the observed and known traffic, non-radar traffic in the St. Croix Bay. I want you, the D side, the D2 controller, to figure out what is the altitude we can assign for test 222. Complete this coordination, pause it now, and we'll come back and we'll talk about things, okay? So, hey, if you pause it, I'm sure you did a fantastic job. So let's go over this. I said, go ahead, D-side, do your thing. Do you have something for them? From our last slide, we knew that we pre-planned an altitude for test 333, right? Heavy into St. Kitts, right? So this is easy. This is a no-brainer. You'll train your eyes. It will get better with time, seeing that you have a Gabar inbound at 0646, and this aircraft is proposed at 0637. The conflict is taking place on our side of the airspace, the San Juan side of the airspace, so your decision is really easy. So what I would have did, I would have listened. I would have said 0637, how wonderful, climbing 220, as they are often always asking to climb to the altitude that they requested. And let's talk about this for a second. The idea that we have test 333 at 0046, I know that this altitude is going to be 5. Climbing to flight level 50 is the best I can approve for now. Now, if there was not head-on traffic in the form of test 333, how would I protect for test 111? Because Bradshaw is asking to have this aircraft climb non-radar along Green 633 or Yankee 280, right, because both aircraft occupy that segment of airspace. Non-radar climb from the surface to flight level 220 forever and a day until they are radar identified. So if you think about it logically, if we were to grant climbing to flight level 220, barring any head-on traffic, we are essentially giving test 222 the entire length of Green 633 along the whole way from the surface to 22, at least until they're radar identified. But until that point, it's our job as the non-radar controller to ensure that non-radar positive separation. So we have to do that. So the best case scenario is we see the utility of that crossing restriction yet again for our Juliana departure, the 15, 35 miles southwest of the VOR, because at the best case scenario, we can assign 14, right? Because they're 15, we can at least give climbing to 14. But our job is so much easier now because we have a head-on inbound, pre-planned at 6, so 5 is the best case scenario for now. So just imagining that that aircraft is still in a radar contact, right? No big deal there, right? And there's that. We would coordinate accordingly. I'd say, oh, test 222, unable flight level 220, 0637, climbing flight level 50, squawk 3362, good. And I'd be like, hey, one for you. They'd be like, who? Test 333 heavy, right? Another situation en route, dealing with an approach control facility about heavy jet operations. GABAR 0646, flight level 60, squawk 4562, because sometimes they like to have the squawk. And they would say approved, and all is well, all is bright. And you see, yet again, you are like a hawk protecting for that feisty segment between Dandy and GABAR along Gain 633 and Yankee 280. So great job completing another positive separation event. So wonderful job. Let's keep this going. Fantastic job with that. Really, really good job. So as you would follow through, you would take out the suspense ticket, put in the real live active ticket, mark it up accordingly, which is perfect as we see it is now in time sequence there. And our next thing we would like to do is make sure we tell the full story on everything. You've been doing a great job so far in this scenario of telling the R side what you have going on, whether it's through verbal means, as we'll see in a second, or through nonverbal means by marking up the strip in red, letting them know of the traffic situation. So depending upon the rapport you have with the R side and how busy you are, you say, hey, and then start that dialogue, that conversation there. There's no real way to talk about it. Try to be brief because they might be busy. You might be busy in your time where you do not have people calling them on the radio or calling you on the telephone. It will be very brief, minuscule at best. So try to say it real quickly. Hey, I have test 222 climbing over GABAR at flight level 50, how much time is it? 9 minutes head on with test 333 descending to 6. Something like that, right? Something quick and easy. And they would look at you and acknowledge you, or they would look at you, then look at the strips, their certified D side, and they would see what you are talking about, okay? So just remember, keep no secrets, tell the full story. Ring, ring, oh boy, it's VC Bird. Wonderful, San Juan Center, Bird, GABAR estimate, test 444. We see in the suspense bay, perfect. Whoop, take it out of suspense bay, put it into the live active bay, offset it, get ready to coordinate, get ready to copy down what we are about to be told. Go ahead, you got this. GABAR 0645, climbing. Oh boy, they love those climbing, don't they? These non-radar facilities, for not having radar, they love asking us for climbs, don't they? Climbing flight level 180. So we would copy that 0645, climbing 18. Let's pause now and see if that is doable. And we will come back and we'll talk about it. So hey, if you pause it, I'm sure you did a fantastic job knowing that VC Bird loves climbers. St. Kitts love climbers, especially climbing to their final requested altitude. And that's not always the best thing for us, right? If what's good for them, what sounds good to them, obliging pilots and whatnot, is usually not good for the overlying control facility. So here's what I would have did. Let's take a look at the traffic situation. I know I have an aircraft along green 633, departure, southwest bound, test 111, going to be level prior to Dandy at 15. Okay, I have to protect for that, right? That's why we gave that restriction. I have test 333, yet again, still radar, and doing their thing. 29 to 6. Okay, so I can't really protect for that, even though I know that at 1 minute prior to them reaching GABAR is when this aircraft will show up at Dandy. I can guarantee that they will be at an altitude that is lower than that, right? Common sense, right? It may not be the most clear, it may not sound the most correct, it may not be the truest form of non-radar separation, but I know for a fact that they will be at an altitude below 18. And I can have my radar controller ensure it based upon the restriction I am about to give. So just keep that in mind, okay? So just a pause on that. And we know that I have to at least protect for test 222's climb to flight level 50. So even though they're departing Bird, and it's common sense an ATR will be out of flight level 060 way before GABAR, or even encroaching upon St. Kitts' little lateral airspace and vertical boundary, that they'll be out of 6, right? Because I have that aircraft climbing to 5. It's kind of a given, but I know I would have to protect for that anyways, or at least state it, because yeah, I mean, it's just the way you have to be thorough about it. So I am going to cross at or above 16. Climb into 18 is approved. So I'm still giving climbing, but I have to restrict. I'm protecting for test 111's. Well, I'm not so much protecting for test 111's climb as much as I am for test 444, making sure they're at or above 16, because that aircraft will be maintaining 15. Now, this would be a great opportunity upon putting in the live and active strip. I would tell my R side about this situation, but great job. I mean, it's pretty simple here. You see how you're protecting using that restriction bar. Okay, so let us coordinate this accordingly and put in the new strip and take a look at the traffic situation and follow through with letting our teammate know about everything that we are up to. So fantastic job with what we just accomplished. As you see there, we now have the active ticket there in time sequence, and this would be the opportunity where you would say, hey, our side, when test 333 is about to leave our airspace, about to be done and out of our hair at flight level 60 GABAR, at 0645, 1 minute prior to that, I have test 444 climbing over GABAR at or above 16, climbing to 18. And if you want to be real official with this, can you ensure separation, right? We are in a mixed radar to non-radar environment. We use the radar to comply with the restrictions set by you, the non-radar controller, right? That's the beauty of having radar. We were able to have the aircraft make these restrictions using radar, if that makes sense, right? We are in the mixed radar environment. So by you mentioning that, you are having the radar controller use the wonderful tool of radar to have that aircraft to be positively separated underneath this restriction, right? We can almost guarantee that aircraft is going to be way below 15 at 0645. So it's not that big of a deal at all. But that is the way that you use the internal conversation and ensure the separation that you are providing as a non-radar controller, okay? So you see how that worked out in time sequences so far. We are doing a really good job navigating our way through all of this. So time for the bonus question. We hear the line ring and it's PRCO, San Juan Center, PRCO, test 555 at Modix, test 555 Modix time and level. Perfect, take it out of the suspense bay, put it into the active bay and get ready to copy down the estimate. Modix is 0647, slow climb from 24 to 34, right? So 24 to 34. Okay, so this might seem like a no-brainer. We have no traffic over Modix. We're talking Modix here. We're no longer talking green 633. We're talking Yankee 260 and red 888. So you might think, oh, hey, this is awesome. This is done. Well, remember that your job is radar associate. So nothing is precluding you from saying approved to this coordination. And if that's what you did when you paused it at some point, even though I didn't tell you to pause it, I think you could have paused it yourself and you would have thought about this. Now, a few things to consider. Yankee 260 is a new airway. The fixed posting is Liu. But we know that Yankee 260 intersects Mike 576. And if you look at the boundary time, the Modix time, 0647 for test 555, and the assumed departure time for test 111, climbing southwestbound on Mike 576, that point of intersection with those times being used as our base almost forms a perfect triangle, right? That intersection with those times is equidistant on either side. So they're actually pointed at each other. And there's not a really good way to know this. Why? Because we know that working Sector 2 by itself, the only strip we ever need for a Juliana departure, southwestbound on Mike 576, as per the order, the strip posting order, is the suspense, aka the proposal ticket. Now, we will get a live ticket on test 555, and we'll get a Liu ticket, and we will, but the Liu time is not going to tell us about the conflict. We can deduce it by backtracking a little bit. So let's talk about this. Still say yes. I would still approve it, but this is where your your radar associate duties will shine and take some precedence, and this is where you're going to be able to really perfect your skill. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at what the finished product looks like, and let's have that conversation with the R side, okay? I will see you there. Wonderful job with that. Let's keep this radar associate concept going, taking the strip that the A side give us, the active ticket, putting it in time sequence. And here's what I would do. I see that 24 climbing to 34 was done by the A side. Great job using that feature for the field 8. And I would write a red W because I want to bring this situation here to my R side's attention. It's nothing imminent. It's a very solvable thing because there's a relative expectation that both aircraft are going to be in radar contact, deep within the radar and surveillance coverage, and we're going to have the ability to talk to both of these aircraft when this potential conflict might come about. So all it would take for me is either say, hey, and start that dialogue, that discussion that we've talked about oh so many times before, or write it like I did. So how can we tell? Well, we really can't because we see Liu is the fixed posting for Yankee 260. That's not really helpful because we know, according to the fixed posting order, Mike 576 southwest bound departures for Princess Juliana departures, or any Princess Juliana departure ticket we use, the strip we use for traffic posting is the proposal ticket, but the proposal ticket doesn't give us any times other than assumed departure time. So it's not really helpful, but when that aircraft departs, let's prove a point here. Let's ask the A side to give us the next ticket that prints out, or go in the garbage can or strip request it and give it to us. And look what we would get. The port A time is 0700. That's fine. The Liu time is 0659. That's equally as fine. And you might say to yourself and say to me, Steve, well, port A and Liu, they're way apart. They're definitely laterally separated. Yes, and I agree with you 110%. But think of it this way. We're not talking about the area of Liu and St. Croix. We're not talking about Lima 459 or Lima 454 or Yankee 260. We're talking about the conflict that's going to take place on the southeast side of that. There's no named intersection there. So what information you have presented to you right now, Pork at 70 and Liu at 0659, that information, those times are when the aircraft passes the point of conflict. Those times are related to the other side of the conflict, the diverging. But prior to that point, they converge and then they diverge. One goes on the Liu and one goes on the Porquet. So you see how you have to look at the strips and the way they tell the story in a different way. Sometimes you have to trace back and go back in time and kind of think to yourself, how many minutes, how many miles are they going to be, southeast and northeast of the point of intersection? So it really helps sometimes the strips tell the whole story. But like I said, I would not stop this aircraft or make a big deal about it. The red W is enough to say, hey, you might have this aircraft climbing simultaneously with your Juliana departure. But like I said, the point of conflict takes place in a weird gray area, close to the boundary, but not close enough to really worry about it, deep within radar and communications coverage, where the R side can make an educated decision based upon traffic conditions and a whole slew of other items. But just something to bring to your attention, and was a great radar associate catch if it made your gears start turning. That's what we want to happen. Once you get past the positive separation, ensuring that and protecting for the known intersections and the known nav aids inside the traffic bays, this is the concepts that you will get as you get certified and during the later stages of training. But fantastic job. I'm happy we were able to drive that point home and at least start talking about it and having that discussion. Classic Peanut situation here where Charlie Brown's asking Snoopy if he had an encounter with the Red Baron, and Snoopy, with his eyes all shot, obviously frazzled, is like, no, D2. And believe me, D2 will do that to you. It will be a test of your mental acuity. It's going to be a mental workout every time you sit down there and solve all the world's problems over Dandy especially. So I think you guys did a fantastic job. It was great doing a scenario together, walking through it, pausing it, letting you figure some things out, and then we come back and we talk about it, what I would do. Yet again, it's just my opinion as one certified controller. It's not the absolute way to solve things. follow your training team, follow what your trainers tell you to do, what they want you to do. But this was just one way to go about it and negotiating our way through a pretty complex situation in that mixed radar to non-radar environment along Dandy and Gabar, along Yankee 280 and Green 633. And we even threw in some radar associate stuff there saying, hey, I need you to know about this, just what I approve simultaneous climbing aircraft with the expectation that communications and radar identification will take place way, way before any kind of conflict or potential conflict could arise. You guys are wonderful. I hope you guys took a little something away, put in that toolbox. I'm sure you're getting really good at this. You're going to excel in the academic and OJT environment. I know that. Really, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you spending time with me today, talking shop, talking the wonderful world of ATC. Steve here, wishing you nothing but the best, smooth skies. And remember, may your attitude be just like your separation, ever positive. I'll see you at the next video. Bye now.